We are back on the Morgan Streetman Show. Time to go out there, but before we do, we have to hit a little quick story, right?
Well, we are out there. We're already out there. Before we go further out there, but this quick story, I mean, the Supreme Court's just been kind of all over the board lately, and it's hard to figure them out. And, John Roberts, the Chief Justice, has been a big part of that, I think. But last week, a decision came out that he was actually on the correct side of. But our buddy from Colorado, Neil Gorsuch, he's been smoking a little bit too much of the peace pipe, I think. Anyway, he wrote the decision joined by the 4 so-called liberal justices in a case involving an Indian who had committed a crime and been convicted in the state of Oklahoma. The Indian's name was Jim Key McGirt. Now, the crime was that he raped his wife's granddaughter, who was 4 years old. Probably ought to be executed as far as I'm concerned. I don't think there's any rehabilitating people like that, and probably just should have been executed. I think you got to give him a trial for due process purposes, but then a quick execution, as far as I'm concerned. Well, according to the Supreme Court of the United States of America, the state of Oklahoma wasn't even properly allowed to try him for that crime because actually what you thought was the state of Oklahoma is not the state of Oklahoma. It's a giant Indian reservation. This is the ruling from the Supreme Court. This has to hit a lot of people as surprising, right? Particularly if you've been to Oklahoma, and I have. Well, apparently, since we gave the reservation back at the end of the Trail of Tears to the Creeks and other Indians way back when, Congress has not since then enacted another law that said it's not an Indian reservation, even though it's not an Indian reservation. It has been an Indian reservation for a long time. But since Congress, in their infinite wisdom, hasn't enacted another law, the Supreme Court, led by Neil Gorsuch, finds that, this is still an Indian reservation. Basically, all of eastern Oklahoma, including Tulsa, counting for about 1.8 million people, is an Indian reservation.
There's not even a Hard Rock casino there, is there?
And what happens with an Indian reservation? State laws don't apply. State laws don't apply to Indians. So now anybody who's been convicted in eastern Oklahoma in their entire lifetime, because remember, the reservation was established back in the 1800s. So in all of our lifetimes, anybody who's alive that's been convicted, who's an Indian within that part of the state of Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma, their criminal convictions are going to be subject to attack, potentially being overturned because they were wrongful, just like this guy, Jim Key McGirt. And now they're going to have to try them either under Indian law, which is not real stringent, or federal law. And federal law only allows for major crimes to be tried. So you're talking murders, rapes, child molestation, things like that. Your basic robbery, though, no, unless it's a bank robbery. Should make that clear. Your basic armed robbery, person-to-person burglary, theft of a car, things like that, those are not federal crimes, and they're not going to be tried under federal law. So all of those people that are incarcerated in eastern Oklahoma that are descendants of American Indians may now have their convictions overturned. And for what reason? Because Justice Gorsuch and the liberals didn't find that Congress ever passed a law making this not an Indian reservation, even though the state of Oklahoma has existed there now for over 100 years. It's unbelievable. I mean, what? And I read the decisions last week. 68 pages of them. Why are we wasting so much time and energy deciding such an asinine topic as this?
But if you've been paying money to the state, do you get your money back?
There's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question, Pat. There's so many ramifications from this.
There are, but he just writes it because he's back off to one of his D.C. restaurants to enjoy a nice meal, and all the appellations from all the people. Oh, you're so great, Justice Gorsuch. And before he started writing these decisions, I thought he wasn't half bad myself. So I'm highly disappointed in him. What a stupid decision. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.